Hey, what's up? It's Ishe Smith here, former IBF junior middleweight champion of the world. Make sure you guys subscribe to Sporting Icons. Cheers.
All right, everyone. So I've got the former IBF super welterweight champion of the world, Sugar Shay, Ishe Smith. Welcome, my man. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm really good. I'm really good. So before we get into some of the topics, are you definitely still retired?
Probably like 60 retired, 40% not. Every time I think about coming back, 20 years is a long time to do something. So I'm partly retired. I'm more keen to do bare knuckle than I am boxing.
Oh, really?
I had a little bit of fun when I did the bare knuckle event last September.
Right.
And won that fight. So I mean, if that came up, maybe if a good boxing opportunity came around, I can't say I would ignore it, but I'm enjoying myself right now.
Because you're the first world champion from Las Vegas. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, first born and raised, first world champion, born and raised from this city. So yeah, it was a long life dream realized, and it was great, man. It was a great day. I'll never forget that day.
And when you look back on your career, it's a very full career, isn't it?
Yeah, 20 years. Had the ups and downs, the favorite, the underdog, I've not a story that, my career didn't embrace over 20 years. So I'm very appreciative of everyone that helped me along the way of my career. And, I had a good career. I didn't have an Andre Ward career or Floyd Mayweather or Joe Calzaghe or those guys, but I had my career, and it was special to me. And like I said, 20 years of never ducking and dodging no one, and being an opponent on many occasions, fighting on the B side, and coming up short sometimes and winning some of those were, very special moments for me.
Yeah, I was about to say, because I don't ever recall anybody talking about Ishe Smith ducking. I don't ever recall hearing that.
Oh, I fought everyone, man. Everyone. I never had a problem. Wish I could have fought more. It was more guys I wish I could have fought, but, those fights just didn't materialize. But I'm very proud of what I was able to accomplish.
And you shared the ring with plenty of quality talent, didn't you?
Right. Just top guys. Lara, Vanes Martirosyan, Cornelius Bunrich, who's a two-time champion. I mean, I stepped in there with some pretty good guys over the course of my career.
Yeah, you certainly did. Now, when you look at the American scene right now, from the outside looking in, obviously I'm from England, for me, it looks like that you guys create killers at the welterweight and super welterweight, but the conveyor system for heavyweight seems to have petered off a little bit.
It has. I think for the most part, I just don't think the game is as lucrative as it used to be back in the day. And I think sports like, football and basketball and baseball in the States has taken their turn for guys wanting to do those instead of boxing like they did back in the day. Whereas in the UK, you guys, the two biggest sports I know is boxing and soccer. So you guys create, really good fighters still, and more so today, even at the 168 pound, and you had James DeGale, you got Colin Smith. You just guys, and then even the lower weights, you got, Kell Brook, and, you had Amir Khan for a while. You guys have always created some pretty good boxers to come out of the UK. Prince Nassim back in the day, like I mentioned before, Joe Calzaghe. I've been a fan of those guys coming, especially when they come over to the States. But whereas us over the years, I think other sports with the money that's being made has lured a lot of our heavyweights away from the sport. That's why you see a lot of, lighter guys. We have more lighter fighters because those heavyweights are playing football now. They're playing basketball. They're doing other things.
Yeah. So when you look at, say, like your former division of super welterweight and that, when you look at, say, Tony Harrison, when you look at Jamal Charlo. How do you rate these guys?
I think those guys are very big. Those guys are good fighters. They're very good fighters. It's different today. You know, when I was fighting back in the day, you know, even when I became junior middleweight, you know, these guys weren't big. Nowadays, these guys are really big. And like when I fought Tony Harrison, he's a very big junior middleweight. So is Julian Williams. You know, these guys are very big junior middleweights. Back in the day, the tallest junior middleweight, the biggest junior middleweight that I love was, you know, Vernon Ford. But now these guys are just so big. I don't know how, like, you know, he's a freak of nature, man. He's huge, man. So it's just, you know, I don't know what's going on with it. But I think those guys are very good fighters. Obviously, I thought me and Julian Williams fought a very close fight. Me and Tony Harrison, it was another tough fight. And I fought, like, my last three of my career were very good guys. Two of those guys went on to become world champions. So, and Julian Williams and Tony Harrison. And, you know, the Julian Williams fight was very debatable. And the Tony decision was a very close fight, you know, 12-round fight. And, you know, the Lubin fight, it was just too many tough fights, I think, back to back to back.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was just like, you know, I need to take a break. You know, it was just, you know, I needed to take a break and just reevaluate things and see if I still wanted to do it. It's hard when you've been in this game 20 years fighting these young guys like that, that, you know, only been in the game 3, 4, 5, 6 years. You know, it's hard when you've been in the game that long.
Yeah, it would be. What do you think of Erickson Lubin then? We know that he took a pretty devastating loss to Charlo a little while ago, but do you think that that was just a case of that fight come too soon for him, or it's just a good punch?
I think it was a combination of both. I think not the fight coming too soon. I think it was a combination of him maybe doubting himself, that doubting himself should be in that position. And I think it, you know, him doubting, not believing, and just a combination of call. And I told him that after, you know, we fought and he defeated me. I told him that going to fight. You know, he looked a little gun shy in the beginning of that fight, and I said, man, never doubt yourself when you get in the ring. When you step up to that challenge, you got to be ready. And I think he has a good trainer right now, in Kevin Cunningham, who I've known for well over 10 years. I've been knowing Kevin for a very long time, man. It's probably been closer to like 18, 20 years I've known Kevin.
Wow.
And I think he has a good man, a good trainer, and a good man at the job. And I think he's ready. I think, you know, he's ready. Scott, I think that belief, as long as he believes when he get in the ring, and I think he'll be just fine.
Okay. So, with you being born and raised in Las Vegas, you'd have been pretty close to the Mayweathers then, right?
Yeah, I've known the Mayweathers, more so Jeff and Roger over the years, and then Floyd came out here a little later when Floyd Sr. came out here later when Floyd Jr. turned pro. I knew Floyd from the amateurs, but I didn't really have a relationship with him because he didn't live here. He stayed in Michigan. I lived in Vegas. I knew who he was. We went on a couple boxing trips together. We was in the 1996 Olympic trials together. But I knew more of my relationship with Floyd started much later. Definitely Floyd Sr. started later. Like, I know Floyd. But my sole relationship with the Mayweathers was typically Roger and Jeff. I've known those guys since I was 8 years old.
Wow.
I grew up watching those guys in the gym. And, you know, it's sad that we lost such a legend in Roger. Like I said, more of a fixture, just not even in boxing, just more of a fixture. Just like I said, I've been knowing the man for 34 years. So it's really sad that he's gone. But, you know, I'm glad he was able to leave his impact on the game and was able to accomplish as much as he did. And the times he helped me as a kid in the gym, you know, I'm very appreciative. Like I said, those guys are, you know, I've known those guys for years, Jeff and Roger. So definitely condolences to them.
Was this expected? Obviously, with you being close, did you expect this kind of news about Roger? to be coming up so soon?
Eventually, I think his health over the years, we had all knew his health was a little failing. We knew he was having health issues. I don't think nobody was prepared for it. I mean, we're talking about Roger, which was a tremendous boxer. I don't think, I hadn't heard anything on him for a while, but, I really wasn't shocked, but it was still surprising to me. I knew he was having health issues. That's why I wasn't shocked, but it was still surprising with me. I was hoping he was getting better and stuff like that, but, it's like I said, it's just really unfortunate because I've been knowing those guys for so long.
Yeah. Well, rest in peace, Roger, and blessings to all his family. Right. So, over the last week or so, I've been getting so many messages about you with this whole Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder conspiracy thing. Now, obviously, I've got like my own thoughts now on it, but so I don't want to put words into your mouth. But what's your whole take on, first of all, the allegations with the gloves?
Oh, well, first time I got sent the video, I literally thought it was like a hoax. Like, I thought it was just somebody making up something, and I just kind of ignored it. Like, I didn't think nothing of it. And then I seen more and more people chiming in, and I saw Steve Cunningham chime in, and I think Earl Spence chimed in. And then I finally watched the video, and then I was like, whoa, where's this video from? And then I realized it was from the first fight. So then I was like, why are we talking about the first fight? Like, what is this trying to prove? Like, what does this have to do with the second fight? So then, like I said, when, I saw guys commenting and, going in, I kind of just said, it makes no sense for a guy to fight with a glove halfway on. Like, I've done both. I fought bare knuckle and I fought with gloves. And to be honest, I would rather fight with the gloves than fight with bare knuckle. And my take is it's just highly impossible to fight like that. It's very improbable and it's highly impossible. Number one, the glove is secure. The commission is under you at all times. I remember one time when my glove wasn't taped from like the top of the glove all the way to the bottom before the wrist starts, before the hand starts, and they make sure that that's all the way taped. They make sure the glove is all the way on. So I'm like, okay, we're talking about one of the best commissions in the world, where, in the States is California, New York, and Las Vegas. Like, these are some of the best commissions in the world. And I'm just like, I just didn't find the purpose of it. Like I said, it's very hard to fight like that over 12 rounds. How did he stop the glove from coming off? If the glove halfway on, at some point it would have came off. There's nothing to keep the glove secure fighting with it halfway on. Eventually it would have came off. It would have just flew right off his hand. And I just started seeing more videos of guys fighting like that. And I know as a fighter, we don't turn our punches over sometimes. Like, not everybody has this concept, like we fight with our fists balled tight, and that's how we don't fight like that. You're taught to relax. Hands are open. When you get ready to punch, you normally close those hands on impact, or when you open up combinations, those hands are then closed when you're throwing 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 punches. But we just don't leave our hands balled all the time. But, unfortunately, sometimes we slap. We just don't turn them over in time. We don't get everything on the punch. And in the amateurs, that's a foul. If you slap someone, you get a warning because you didn't hit with the hand. I mean, I've seen several amateurs over the years by not turning their punch over. So, to me, I thought it was ridiculous. I don't believe anything to do with the glove. I've been in California. I fought in New York. I fought in Vegas several times, and there's no commissions in the world that is as tough as those three, in my opinion. I've never fought in the UK. Maybe they got tough commissions over there, but I just know these three in the States, those guys are really, really tough, man. And comparing the hand wraps to the gloves is two different things. I think it's easier to possibly put a little bit too much tape, put a little bit too much this, and, but those gloves, those gloves are just different, man. It's very hard to cheat with gloves.
I mean, going back to your original point, as you said, even if there was something wrong, which I don't believe there is either, but even if there was, what's that got to do with February 2020? You know, I don't see it.
Yes, I mean, yeah, that was my whole point, and I think that's the point where I started saying this sounds like sour grapes. It's like if you could have raised this issue after the fight, and you would have said something after the first fight, maybe I could have listened. I probably still would have watched the video and watched the claims, and I probably wouldn't have believed you, but maybe I would have been, more adhered to listen. Like, okay, let me listen to this. But why cry sour grapes after the second fight for something that happened in the first fight? It just never really made sense to me. I never understood that.
Is it possible to turn your hand over so your knuckles are showing through the wraps? Because some of these, I want to call them Wilder fanboys. Some of these fanboys are claiming that somehow Fury managed to remove the knuckles from his wraps, turn his hand over so it's showing through where the laces are. Is that even possible?
No. I mean, there's the only thing that's possible, as I've said it in my YouTube videos. I've said that maybe it just was a shitty hand wrap job. It could have been a shitty hand wrap job. It could have been a pair of shitty gloves. But I tried to do my best to explain what happens in the championship fight. If you say you're wearing Everlast or you're wearing Grand or whether you're wearing any rival, whatever glove you're going to wear, you give the color, you tell that manufacturer, these are the gloves I'm wearing. The gloves are sent to the promoter on record, whether it's to commission, sometimes they're sent to the promoter, sometimes they're sent direct to the commission. The promoter then delivers the gloves to the commission, and then from that point, the fighter has no access to the gloves whatsoever. Those gloves are sealed, sometimes they're wrapped. Sometimes the commission will take them out of the wrapping, but you don't see those gloves. You pick the color, what gloves you want, whatever it may be. Everlast has several different styles of gloves I fought in. I'll tell them, send me this style, that style, this style, and they send it to the commission. After the weigh-in or before, you may have 6 pairs sent to you, and they take the pairs of gloves. They say, okay, you need to pick your pair. So you may go through pair 1 and say, okay, because every glove, people don't know this, but every glove is different. Just because they're brand new and they've never been worn, they feel different. They're not like driving a car with no miles on it. They're going to be different. Maybe the thumb wasn't, manufactured right. Maybe the knuckle doesn't feel right. Maybe the part that you close the glove with your fingers, maybe that doesn't feel right. So not every part of the glove is going to feel good. So you pick pair 1, pair 2, pair 3, however many pairs they send you, that's what you pick. And they take the gloves back, they keep them, and you don't take them home with you to the hotel or wherever you stand. The commission then takes the gloves. When you report to the locker room, they bring in pair 1 and they say, okay, here's your gloves. And you may, the commission is there with you the whole time. You have an attendant assigned to your locker room. They're there the whole time watching you. In this case, when you start wrapping the hands, you have to tell the attendant, the commission attendant in Vegas, those are the guys with the burgundy suits. You have to tell them I'm getting ready to wrap so they can watch. And this is a championship fight. So Wilder would have had somebody from his camp come over to watch Fury wrapping his hands. Vice versa, Fury could have had somebody from his camp go watch Wilder wrap his hands. You get your hands wrapped. The commission then signs the hand wraps. The commission attendant signs in your locker room. Then you put the gloves on. If the gloves don't feel good after you put the hand wraps on, you may say, hey, I don't like these. Can you bring in pair 2? They'll take pair 1 out and they'll bring in pair 2. You may say, you know what, I'm going to keep the right hand from pair 1. Bring me the left hand from pair 2. They'll bring those. They'll do that. From that point, they watch you tie the gloves and they put the tape on there and they sign it again. So I just don't think, like I said, that's highly unlikely he cheated with the wraps. And let's say, some point at the fight it was a shitty wrap job and the wraps wasn't good. Well, he would have hurt his hand. No fighter likes punching without those wraps. Shit, no fighter like that doesn't give you no advantage to punch without the wraps. It really hurts. People think like it doesn't, like fighting bare knuckle, it hurts. I had no advantage fighting bare knuckle. It hurt me hitting that guy in the head, hitting that guy. It hurt my hands. My hands were swollen up. So I just don't see the point. The excuses and everything, I really just don't see it.
Yeah. Now, a friend of mine, he contacted the California State Athletic Commission about it to see if they were going to do any kind of investigation. Now, I did a video breaking the news that they are refusing to look into it because they're confident in their own procedures, and they said exactly the same thing that you did. Plus, the referee will check it right before the bell, and the Athletic Commission get the gloves and the wraps after the fight as well to inspect.
Right? Yeah, they do. It's just, it's very hard to really, like I said, maybe I would find it more probable to maybe twinker with the hand wraps like Margarito did back in the day. I would find that a little bit more easier than to these guys to be saying he's fighting with the glove half on. That's just really, really tough. And like I said, with slipping the wraps with your bare knuckle, what they're alleging, that would bring no benefit to Fury. That would actually bring more pain than anything.
Well, even Wilder said after that fight, he said that Fury punches like a fairy. He had pillow fists.
Right.
So clearly he didn't feel like a no knuckle in his face.
No, like I said anybody. Does Fury hit like Mike Tyson? No. Does he hit like a Lennox Lewis? Probably not. Does he hit like George Foreman? Probably not either. He probably doesn't hit like none of those guys. But if you believe a guy that is, got 20 knockouts out of 30 fights, 31 fights, and he's that big, if you believe a guy that big can't punch, you're an idiot. Because if he hits you, he's going to hurt you. And he has 20 guys to prove otherwise on his record. If he hits you, he's going to hurt you. Anybody that big can punch. It's just you're going to have guys who can punch a little stronger and punch a little harder. But, he's not just out there hitting like a featherweight. Man, he's a big guy, man. He's going to be able to punch. And that happened with the Wilder fight. As you saw, he caught him, and it is what it is.
Well, that's the thing. And the gloves as well, they were Everlast MX, so they're 50% horsehair as well, which apparently when they get like wet with sweat or something, they do tend to mat and clump up, which may have given it the floppy look.
Right.
But, and on from that, so why do you think that the fans are reaching that way? I mean, why can't they accept that Wilder took a loss?
Well, he has this support of this group, which I just really figured out, what they were and what they stood about. And, I said it on Twitter, I think it's the worst, the LDBC, and I think it's probably the worst group in boxing because they're very racially motivated, and they're very motivated on race. They want to play the race card in boxing. They want to play the race card in everything. And it's just, us fighters don't really look at race like that in boxing. It's race in sports. I think there's more racial injustices maybe done in soccer worldwide than it is boxing. I don't see the angle they play with that, and they get his fans riled up. And I think those guys are probably the biggest, most decisive group for Wilder, and they get all his fan base riled up, and they just can't accept that he lost. And I think that's very bad for the sport. I think when you start playing that race card, and if a black fighter like me or Andre Ward or whoever doesn't agree with your agenda, then you're calling them names. You're calling them a coon. You're saying that, it's just, and I think that's very bad for the sport. I think they've had issues with Andre Ward, who's one of the purest, most a man of high integrity that I've ever met in boxing, and I've been in this sport for 2 decades. So to call that man's character out, to call other people's character out because they don't agree with your agenda is very bad for the sport.
So what's this word coon? I'm guessing that's an American term, right? I'm guessing.
It's an American term. It's a slavery. It's something. It's probably the worst thing you can call a black man because it's a slavery term, meaning that back in slave days, they would have certain black men that will cuddle up to the slave master, which
Right.
the slave masters were white, and they'll cuddle up to the slave master for gifts or to not get beatings and stuff like that. Which I said that's just because a black man don't agree with your agenda, that's something, but that's not something you shouldn't call them. But if that's what feeds their base, that's what feeds their base. And that's what they seem to want to do, and it's very bad for the sport, I think, because the sport isn't as racially divisive as they think it is. This isn't 10, 15 years ago. This is we have multiple boxers making millions of dollars per fight that are black. You have Earl Spence, you have Sean Porter, you have Deontay Wilder, you have Anthony Joshua. We have so many, you have Shakur Stevenson, you have Devin Haney, and I can just keep going on about all the fighters. You have the Charlo brothers. You have so many fighters, black fighters, that are making money. So I think it's a bad time for that. You have Terrence Crawford, and I think if you're going to play that race card, this isn't 10 or 15 years ago. I was around when it was hard for blacks to get opportunities, when Floyd was begging for Top Rank to showcase him and put him in big fights, and they wouldn't do it because they deemed maybe blacks didn't sell like the Mexican fighters, and they was pushing like De La Hoya. They was pushing those other fighters, and Floyd wanted to be pushed. He wanted to be on TV. He wanted to be on pay-per-view. He really wanted to start being on pay-per-view, and Top Rank didn't see his vision, so he bought himself out of his contract, I think, for $750,000, and he went, and kudos to him, he made it. But this isn't that time. This isn't the time where black fighters aren't getting pushed and they're not having opportunities. They are, and I think when you start barking up that tree and you start burning the bridges in this game, you're going to be limited to the things you can do media-wise. You're going to be limited to YouTube and making YouTube videos because nobody in this game is going to take you serious. Nobody in this game is going to give you a credential. Nobody in this game is going to want you at their fight. You're going to have to buy a ticket like a regular fan. And I just don't think media people want to be buying tickets like regular fans. They want access to the fights. They want access to report. And I just think their narrative is really bad for the sport of boxing. And I think it's terrible, honestly.
Now, I'm surprised that some of these guys even get access, because with the PBC, now they're newly aligned with Fox Sports, which has good connections with Disney. I'd be very surprised if some of these guys don't get their press passes removed because they don't want that kind of those kind of people around them.
Well, I think they kind of have burnt some bridges. I think one of them had issues with Kelly Swanson, who has been in the game for many years, who I respect. I think one of them issues with Kenny Porter. I just think they keep playing this narrative. They're going to be limited to Facebook. And you want access to the fighters, and you want access to all fighters. You don't want just access. You want to be able to report. And if you feel something, hey, I'm not saying you don't say it, but everything in this sport isn't about race, man. It isn't.
Yeah.
I grew up fighting with white people. I grew up fighting with Mexican people. I grew up fighting with black people, and I've never experienced any type of racism from them guys in this sport. Never. I mean, some of the, I've actually hung out with UK fans at fights before, and they're some of the most coolest people you can hang out with because they're really true boxing fans. They really love the sport. So I just don't get the stuff they're spewing and coming from. I think it's full of hate, and I don't think it's no place in boxing for it.
So do you know Al Heyman then? You met him?
I've met him before. Al Heyman is a very quiet guy.
Right.
Meeting him is like meeting Bruce Wayne.
Right.
It's like he's like Batman. He's like, meeting him is like meeting Bruce Wayne, but you know Bruce Wayne is Batman, but you never see Batman, and you hardly ever see Bruce Wayne. I can count on one hand the times I've met him. He's a very nice guy. He's a very cool guy. But like I said, it's just meeting him is mysterious, man. It's like meeting Bruce Wayne himself.
I was just thinking, what if you knew any kind of like thoughts on what he would think about the whole race narrative?
Well, he employs different ethnicities of the sport, and I don't think he's worked with Kelly Swanson on many occasions, and I don't think that's a narrative he would appreciate at all. And he employs blacks. He works with Mexican fighters. Yeah. He works with the white fighter now, and Caleb Plant. Who's I think he's a super middleweight champion of the world. So
exceptional fighter.
I don't think that's something. Yeah, I don't think that's something he would take too kind with. He would be too happy with that these guys are race baiters and they say things because Al Heyman works with everybody. He's a very high level businessman. So I don't think, and Floyd the same way. Floyd, when I was with Floyd, he employed everybody. He had Mexicans on staff. He had whites on staff. He had blacks on staff. So I just don't see. There's no place in boxing for the kind of rhetoric that they play. And if you don't agree with them, now you're a sellout. You don't go with the. It's just very hard to play that narrative. It's not something I respect at all.
Well, something
but
that
I'm glad there's a video of Andre Ward calling him out about it, and I'm glad. But Andre Moore's a more respectful side of things. Like I said, he's a guy of higher integrity. But they're going to do it to the wrong guy one day, and you're going to have a situation like a video I posted here today with Kenny Porter slapping one of them. So you're going to have situations like that where they say the wrong thing to the wrong boxer, and it's going to be bad for them.
Yeah, I've been sent that video before. I think I know who it is you talk about. I don't watch like his channel, but I have heard it's pretty bad. And quite why Kenny Porter slapped him, I don't know. But if we're talking about the same person here, is it the one who did he push or hit some woman there?
Yeah, he did. Like I said, I literally just found out who this. I've never watched none of their videos.
Yeah,
I know a friend of mine told me they have put out some videos about me after I, talked about Tyson Fury's whole glove thing. But one thing about us boxers that we have very thick skin and stuff like that don't bother us. So I can have people talking about me and I'll never go to your YouTube page to listen to it. I'll never read your articles. So I didn't know who these people was. I literally just found out yesterday, actually from some friends in boxing who don't respect what those guys are doing. And they're not even like white guys. They're just, they're people of color who really don't respect what they stand for and what they're doing in the sport. So I just found out what they were about and what they stood for, and I have videos sent to me about the video Kenny Porter sent to me, and the video certain videos were sent to me, and I was able to kind of get their rhetoric more. But I haven't never once looked at one of their videos. I don't even know who they are and how they look or anything. But I just like I said, I'll say you guys can hide behind YouTube and talk about people, but talk to them in person like that.
Yeah,
call them. You was calling Andre Ward a coon in videos, but when you saw him, you didn't say all that. So, like I said, it's a shame they have to use that Reddit, but they do it because it sells.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? It's all about views, and see, this is what I mean is that for about a week now, and certainly over like the last couple of days, a lot of people ask me, "Have you seen like a Ishe Smith? He's being called out by like his group. They're going in on him. Like, damn, what's all that about then?" So, what I'm hearing, you're enemy number one as far as they're concerned because you dare to go against their king in Deontay Wilder. That's how they see it.
Right.
But what I've read of like some of your tweets and that, it's not about Wilder. It's about what's right. There was nothing wrong with the gloves. Move on. Fighters lose sometimes.
Right.
But yet somehow they're turning it into a hate Wilder situation.
Right, and I don't think. Listen, I've made it clear. Like Wilder can fight. You know, he's a good. For where he started. I think he started at 19. You know, he didn't start boxing until late, and he can fight. He's just he's not on Tyson Fury's level. I'm per se not a Wilder fan. I let it be known I don't like that he constantly says he wants to kill someone in the ring.
Right.
Look, man, I was at a fight where I watched a guy fight, you know, defend his world title, Jesus Chavez versus I think Levander Johnson it was, and I was at that fight, and I watched this guy get beat up, but he never quit. He kept trying, and I was like, man, he's giving everything. And I can't remember if he got stopped or not. I just can't remember, but I remember being at that fight and watching that whole fight, and then later on that night, going home and then finding out like early in the morning he had passed. Like he died. He succumbed to his injuries. And I've seen fighters over the years, you know, succumb to injuries in boxing. So I just think nobody is out here to kill anyone. And if you have that mentality to constantly say it over and over and over again, I mean, we're out here to feed our families, man. Of course we want to win. Of course we talk shit and we want to beat the guy up. But I don't go into a fight thinking I want to kill this dude. Like, I want to take him from his kids, his mom, his wife, his family, his brothers, his sister. I want to kill this dude. I want to end his life because I could kill someone and not go to jail for it. Like, I'm not thinking like that. And so for this guy to constantly make that statement over and over and over again, constantly, it just rubbed me the wrong way. I'm not a fan. You know, everybody say, well, you're a Tyson Fury fan. Yeah, I like Tyson Fury's story. I like Tyson Fury, how he overcame. It's something I can relate to. Mental depression, you know, dealing with that, suicide, overcoming that. It was something that I dealt with in my career, and I was able to overcome. I can relate to that. I'm a fan of his, but I don't have just one boxer that I root for. I'm a fan. I like David Benavidez. I'm a fan of his. I'm a fan of. You know, I like watching Earl Spence fight. I like watching Anthony Joshua fight. I met Anthony Joshua, one of the coolest guys I met in person. So I'm a fan of good boxing, and I'm a fan of guys who care. I'm just not like on Tyson Fury's bandwagon driving his car for me. You know, I'm a fan of good fighters. You know, I like watching good boxing, and yeah, I like what he stands for. I think he's overcome a lot, and you know he's done a lot, and he inspires people, and that's good. But if you ask me if Wilder, I've never really seen one of his fights. I've seen highlights, but I'm not a fan of that, man. I'm not gonna. It's hard for me to like a guy when you're constantly saying you want to kill someone in the ring, and I was at a fight witnessing a guy die. Like, witnessing a guy die from his injuries. Like, I've been in this game 20 years. I've never heard such ridiculous shit in my life. Like, I don't want to be a fan of a guy like that. Yeah. How can I like a guy like that?
No, that's right. And I suppose it didn't help as well with Wilder, because he tried to make it a black versus white thing as well. And, until Fury said, no, it ain't. It's man versus man. But he wanted to make Tyson Fury a pop quiz question for Black History Month as well. So that isn't going to help, is it? With the fact that he lost, and obviously his fan bases are based on that narrative, and with him losing at that particular time of the month, not ideal.
Well, I don't think that it really, you know, I don't know why I don't think Black History Month really played a part in it. I just don't think they didn't want him to lose. And I'm not even going to say black people. I just think that fan base didn't want him to lose. That particular base really didn't want him to lose. And those people will do anything to come up with an excuse to why he lost.
Yeah.
I'm still baffled by what does the first fight have to do with the second.
Yeah.
That I'm still scratching my head trying to realize what the first fight had to deal with the second.
Yeah.
I just still don't get it. I wrap my head around it. I scratch my head, and I'm trying to understand what the first fight had to do with the second. Why are we talking about gloves from the first fight, but not what happened in the second fight?
Exactly.
Well,
they're going on the fact that he used dirty tackles in the rematch as well.
I don't think he used dirty tactics. I think they both were, everybody tries to hit behind the head and clinches. I don't think there was nothing dirty about the way he fought. I just think I don't think Kenny Bayless did anything to let Wilder fight dirty. Again, more excuses to why he lost. Just accept he lost and support him in the rematch. But all this glove theory and what happened in the first fight, and we need to focus on the second fight. And the uniform being heavy. Look, I never really disputed that. I don't know if the uniform was heavy or not, and I said it. Like, Wilder has to look in the mirror and come to question with those demons, because listen, when you make that ring walk and you get in that ring, you realize, you by yourself. You by yourself. So at some point, he's got to look in the mirror. He's got to look in the mirror and come to grips with those demons. And if you're making an excuse that your legs were shot and you had no legs, and you're blaming that outfit, well, you have to look in the mirror and really come to grips with yourself. Was that really the case for you? Did you really get beat, or was your legs really shot? And those are just questions he's going to have to ask. Those are questions he's going to have to answer himself. Like, nobody can dispute that about the uniform. Me personally, I wouldn't have said it. I've never made excuses for any of my fights, but me personally, I wouldn't have said it. But again, those are just demons. He's going to have to look in the mirror, and he's going to have to realize, are those things true or not? Because, like I said, when you make that ring walk and you step off those steps, and they say the names and all of that, and them people leave, and that before that bell ring, shit, you on your own, bro. That's it. You on your own, and those questions will be answered either before then, or they're gonna be answered when that bell rings. So it's best to have that stuff figured out before then.
Yeah, definitely. Do you think that Mark Breeden throwing in the towel was the right thing to do?
Well, I think it was. I mean, Breland is another man of high quality, high integrity. I think it may have been, but I think the ref didn't even stop it. If you look at the film, I don't even think Kenny stopped it. I don't think he saw the guy getting in the ring with the towel.
I thought that too.
He was stopping it before. Yeah, I think he was stopping it before, and everybody talked about this towel and him throwing the towel in, but Kenny was already stopping it before he even got in the ring. So it's kind of like it was about to happen anyway. So, but nonetheless, even if he did stop it, I think he did the right. I think he made the right call.
Oh, I agree. Anyway, hopefully that a lot of these guys grow up and just accept it, move on. Fighters lose, and for me, I think it's a good thing when fighters lose, because that means you're testing yourself, right? You're in there against legitimate opponents.
Oh, right. It's very tough. Like I said.
Yeah. All right, and so I mean, again, thank you very much for spending a bit of time. I know I've taken up 45 minutes of your time right now.
It's all right, man.
Yeah. Actually, how's everything over there in Las Vegas with this whole virus situation? Are you all on quarantine over there?
Yeah, pretty much. All the essential businesses are closed. Pretty much, man. We don't have not much to do around here. All the essential businesses closed. Casinos closed. No sporting events in the States. So there's not much to do, man. Hopefully, God willing, this thing will be over sooner rather than later.
Definitely. And where can everybody catch you on social media?
At Ishe Sugar Shay and on Twitter, and same thing at Ishe Sugar Shay on Instagram and Ishe Smith on Facebook.
Okay, and you've got a YouTube channel as well?
Yes, Ishe Smith YouTube channel. Yes, sir.
All right, and I'll put a link to that in the description box of this one, so people can give it a click and go subscribe to you.
All right, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks very much, Ishe. I appreciate your time, and blessings to you, your family, and all your friends. Hope everybody is safe and well.
All right.
And
thank you so much. You do the same, man. I heard you guys on a 3-week lockdown over there, right?
No, it's going to be a 5-week one until end of April, I think it is.
Oh man.
Yeah. Well, it's okay.
Yeah, man. Well, prayers to you, man. Hope everything goes well. Be safe out there, man.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, brother.